A drunk challenges a jiu-jitsu black belt in a street fight, and if I'm being honest with you, I was pretty upset with the black belt. Now, as a jiu-jitsu black belt myself, I'll be honest with you, whenever I am rolling with somebody that has little to no experience in grappling, it's usually a piece of cake, as it should be. I've got years of grappling experience under my belt, so therefore, if I'm going with somebody that has no idea what they're doing, I should be able to control them, no problem. Now, sure, if this person happens to have extensive wrestling experience, even though they may not have jiu-jitsu experience, it's usually going to be pretty difficult to hold down a wrestler. Or maybe the person's just got crazy size on me or crazy strength on me and they're able to just kind of outmuscle or outsize whatever it is I'm trying to do. They could pose a threat or at least a little bit more of a troublesome role, right? But overall, I should have no problem holding somebody with zero to no experience, which brings me to the point of this video and why I'm overall upset with the black belt in the situation. Now, yes, as you saw in the video, he had complete control and domination of the fight from the get-go. The moment they locked down and started grappling with each other, the black belt just completely dominated the rest of the fight. But this is my point, and this is why I'm upset. When I keep seeing all these jiu-jitsu black belts or instructors that are now kind of engaging with self-defense and teaching self-defense for people that have no experience, it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit because of the fact that a lot of these jiu-jitsu instructors don't really have a combative mindset or a self-defense background other than just I train jiu-jitsu and I compete a lot and therefore it works, which yes, in theory, majority of jiu-jitsu will be just fine on the street. However, there's a lot of things that we have to kind of take into consideration, and that's exactly why I kind of want to break down this video. So as we go along with it, you'll hopefully will understand my point of view on why I felt that this black belt could have handled the situation differently while still maintaining complete control of the overall situation. So here we go. At the beginning of the situation, you have these two obviously exchanging words. Now I don't recall the name of this black belt off the top of my head, but I do know that when this video kind of initially surfaced, he posted on social media that he was trying to de-escalate the situation multiple times, and this drunk man over here was just very persistent, and then eventually he had no choice but to engage. And people understand this. As much as we want to de-escalate, as much as we want to be able to walk away or run away, it is not always an option, and sometimes we are forced to engage, which also means that we may be forced to throw the first punch. Now, side note, if you are going to pick a fight with somebody and you notice that, number one, they have cauliflower ears, which this guy clearly does, again, if you follow his social media, don't mess with them because they clearly have experience in fighting. And number two, more importantly, this dude is wearing an ADCC hoodie. Now, if you are understanding of what ADCC is, it is the highest level of grappling around. It is the highest level tournament around. And therefore, if somebody is repping merch from ADCC, they either compete in it, they're a fan of it, or they train for it. Either way, they know what they're doing when you get hands-on with them. So don't pick a fight with them to begin with. But nonetheless, this drunk has that liquid courage, as we like to call it. He continues to pursue after and starts just, again, giving all the signs of like, hey, he's not going to back down. He's going to engage. And as we've said, if de-escalation doesn't work, if walking away doesn't work, it is better to throw the first punch than be on the receiving end. And I believe that's exactly what this black belt does. He's going to throw that first punch, land, connect it beautifully. And then at this point, the guy's going to immediately get hands on. And as you can kind of see here in the situation, it's a little bit blurry, but they are starting to initiate the clinch. Now, when it comes to street fighting in general, we have what is called a lucky punch, meaning that even if you are the highest level striker, a little to no experienced street fighter could get lucky and knock you out with a lucky punch, meaning that if I'm just swinging my arms around and I just connect in the right manner, the right amount of power on the right spot, I'm going to put you to sleep, hence the lucky punch, right? But when it comes to grappling, there is no lucky grappling. It's either you have the experience or you don't. And if you don't have the experience and you're going into a fight against somebody that has extensive amounts of experience, you're screwed. And unfortunately, this drunk found out the hard way. So now as they continue, you're going to see that the black belt immediately starts tying up. He gets a nice body lock, takes him down, immediately kind of gets into somewhat of a top control position. Let's backtrack this just a little bit so we can see. Gets into a nice, good kind of top control position right here. Now, this is where I start to kind of lose a little bit of respect for this black belt, right? When it comes to grappling in general, especially for street situations, our goal is to get on top and to stay on top as much as possible. Now, because of the experience that this guy has, he should not need to do any harm to this person. He should have the knowledge and experience to get on top, control this man's limbs, control his body movements, and pretty much just hold him down until help arrives. There really should be no need to apply any sort of pain, any sort of damage, any striking by any means, simply just due to the fact that one, this man's intoxicated, two, he clearly has no fighting experience, and you, as the black belt over here, has obviously extensive amounts of experience. So in this situation, what I would have done, if you notice, he's kind of in like a half guard position, right? I would have taken my knee right here. I would have stapled my knee to the ground, securing kind of like a top mount position. I would have taken my back knee, slid it up on the back a little bit more, forcing this man to turn this way. I know it's a lot of drawings, but pretty much I'm trying to force a man on two sides so I can get into like a top mount. And essentially what I would do is actually, if we clear this out, I would take this arm right here and get him to pass it through so that I can turn it into a gift wrap position and pretty much just hang out on a top mount or S mount, whatever you want to call it, and just control the man with gift wrap. And if I can do that properly, again, he's not going to be able to grab any weapons. He's not going to be able to hit me. He's not going to be able to get up or move until I release him. But even better, I'm in a good position that if somebody else comes up to jump in, if somebody tries to hit me from behind, I'm in a position that I can easily pop back up to my feet, defend myself, protect myself, and ultimately get away from the situation if shit hits the fan further. That's not what this black belt does. And this is, again, my problem with black belts in general that are teaching self-defense, is that what we're about to see, is what instructors are teaching people that have zero experience. Like, hey, if we get on the ground, we should be ripping arm bars, and we should be going for triangle chokes, and we should be hitting submission after submission and doing damage. No, when it comes to self-defense, our goal is to get out. Our goal is to get away as much as possible. If we can't control the situation, we're getting out of there. Yes, we're going to do strikes and damage in the process, but our goal is not to sit there and linger longer than we have to. Now, in this situation, you're going to see the black belt start throwing a couple strikes, which is fine, right? This guy's still struggling, but now you see him step his leg over his hip, and what you're going to see here in a second is he's going to take his back leg, and he's also going to step his leg up and over the head, falling back into an armbar. The worst place you want to possibly be in a street fight is on your back with an armbar. Now, yes, you can do damage to the armbar, but this man is in no position that if somebody were to come running up and just start soccer kicking him in the face, he's got no way of protecting himself. He's stuck on the ground. If for whatever reason he loses this armbar, which he shouldn't because of his experience, but let's just say he does, now this man can easily get to now the top position and start throwing strikes. He could draw a weapon. Like, this black belt has no control over what this man is doing. And if you notice, his hand here is completely free. His waistband is completely accessible. Now you can see that there actually is no weapons, but if he did have a weapon, he's got a free hand. He can grab for a firearm, he can grab for a knife, and he can sit there like, sure, maybe he'll let you break his arm, but he's going to get a shot off or start stabbing you. And again, this black belt has completely exposed himself to worst case scenarios, which again, not happy to see it as a fellow black belt, but let's see how it continues to play out. So you're going to see him sit here and just start mangling the arm, breaking the arm, destroying it, multiple different positions. Like, he is just ripping this arm apart. Now, this is the other thing to understand, especially when we talk about street fights, right? Pain compliance, not always a great thing. We talk about pressure points and people have all these systems in place of like, oh, I'm going to apply pain and I'm going to get the person to comply through pain compliance. Well, guess what, dude? If they're under the influence of something, which clearly this guy is, they ain't going to feel shit. Which clearly this man, yeah, you can see like the agony in his face, but it's not stopping him. As you can see as we continue watching, he's continuing to try and fight. Even when his arm, when the black belt releases his leg, you can see he's now reaching with his other hand, trying to pull himself up. He's trying to get back into the fight a little bit. So clearly, even though his arm just got completely mangled, destroyed, broken, and who knows how many different places, he's still in the fight because, again, due to the alcohol or drugs or whatever it is that he's under, he's not feeling any pain by any means. The black belt acknowledges this, continues breaking the arm even further, throws a few more strikes, and then I believe at this point, starts throwing kicks, axe kicks. Gotta love the little axe kicks positions. And then from here, he decides to go back up into mount. Now, this is where he should have been from the get-go. If he couldn't have secured like a gift wrap position, he should have just secured a mount position, scooped the head, isolated the arms, prevented the man from utilizing his hips, and again, just hung out until help arrives or until he can easily just pop back up to his feet and take off running, right? Then from this position, he starts kind of throwing some punches. He starts throwing like half-ass elbows. This is the other thing, people, right? If you're training in a discipline for self-defense and you're focused solely on grappling, you should still at least incorporate some aspect of striking because let's be honest, those elbows are a little embarrassing. And if you are trying to be an all-around fighter, even if you don't intend on competing in, say, MMA, if you want to be the best, like, I'm able to protect myself, like grappling is great, you still need to have a good understanding of how to strike. You don't have to be extremely proficient at it, but you should know how to throw proper punches, proper elbows, learn how to throw great kicks and whatnot. Because this, again, is just it's not the best, right? He could have done a lot more. Now, fortunately for the guy, he also didn't do too much damage, because now we're starting to kind of cross the line of, is this self-defense, or is this a point where this man on top is just now starting to do unnecessary damage, unnecessary bone breaking, limb destruction, head strikes? Like, you're kind of tiptoeing on the line of what's self-defense and what's just effective. You're now just beating the crap out of this guy. So he continues to stay on top, again, continues to throw strikes. Now we have a bunch of people that have stepped in to kind of help out with the situation, and ultimately the black belt kind of, I'm guessing, gets up and walks away. But this video emphasizes a couple great points, which is why I made the comment at the beginning that it upset me about the black belt, right? If you have that much experience with grappling, if you're able to roll with high-level practitioners and you're able to control them without any problem, then why, when it comes to dealing with a drunk, you decide that it's a great idea to start throwing arm bars and stuff like that? I just feel like he could have handled the situation a lot better, a lot easier, without, one, putting himself at risk. So thankfully, nothing happened to him. No one jumped in, no one pulled out a weapon or anything. He left himself completely exposed. So again, if I were in his positions, I would have tried to de-escalate. Clearly that didn't work. He threw the first strike. I agree with that one. I would have even tried throwing the first strike and then used that as an opportunity to get out of there. But clearly he threw the strike and the drunk guy immediately went to get hands on. Okay, we're grappling now. Could I take you down? Yes. Should I take you down? That's up in the air. But he decides to body lock him, take him down to the ground. That's fine. He ends up in a top position, and instead of maintaining that top position and, again, just tying him up and isolating everything, he decides to go for an armbar, of all things, putting his back on the ground, risking the chance of this guy coming up on top, and who knows what from there. So not the best decision-making, in my opinion, of this black belt in the situation. And then again, I think the striking and the damage that he added at the end between the axe kicks, the hammer fist, the punching, the elbows, I think that started to go a little bit excessive. So again, tiptoeing a little bit on, is it self-defense, or are you now just kind of beating this dude up? Last thing I'll say, if we are in a self-defense situation, if it comes to compliance of any sort, you're better off just utilizing a choke. Reason being is this video clearly shows it. If somebody's under the influence, even if you break their arm, if you destroy their shoulder, their leg, they may not feel it and they may still just continue coming at you. However, if you start initiating a choke, even if they are under the influence of something, they may not feel the pressure of the choke, but their body is, and their body's still going to shut down and go to sleep because of the pressure of the choke and the blood flow and all that stuff. So in my opinion, when it comes to joint locks or chokes for self-defense, I think chokes are something that everyone should learn and understand how to at least hit a choke from just about any position, just because that is something that I think truly would save you in a real-life situation compared to just trying to snap somebody's arm. So there you have it. Although this black belt did win the situation, in my opinion, I think he was extremely lucky with the circumstances. And if you are someone that is training jiu-jitsu, please understand that when it comes to street fighting, our focus should be on getting back to our feet as much as possible, or controlling and isolating whatever the threat may be, and not putting ourselves in at risk for getting hit or stabbed or shot or something else, just by going for a simple submission or something. Just keep that in mind, right? Sport jiu-jitsu is great, but not everything that we learn for sport is something that we want to be hitting out on the streets. As always, stay alert, stay aware, stay safe. We'll see you next time.